Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of B-Rob Inspired. If you notice, we're in a different location, a cool location. Bespoke Apparel has agreed to allow us to come in and do a live show today at their place of business in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm super excited about the show today. We've got an unbelievable guest, and Craig Berube, the head coach of the St. Louis Blues. Craig, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
I appreciate it. Yeah, awesome. Well, the show's the impetus is ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Appreciate you being on the show. Would love to talk about your leadership style. I'm definitely going to go back and discuss 2019 because that's probably one of my favorite memories as a Blues fan. But getting into this business, what have you seen that's changed from a leadership perspective when you played personally to the way that you hold yourself and coach the players that you have today?
Yeah, I think when I came into the league as a player, basically the coaches, they coach a team obviously the same as now, but there was no real communication with players. You just had to do what you had to do, and if you didn't do it, you probably, if you weren't good enough, you were out of the league or you weren't playing. And if you're a great player, they just kind of left you alone and go play. But as things evolve and people evolve, there's so much more. Players have so much more input now with what's going on, and that's where the leadership really comes from, is your players. And I think when I first came in the league, your leadership came from probably your coaches more than your players.
Okay.
And nowadays I find that you got to have players being real good leaders, so you're not going anywhere. You can look at Tom Brady, for example. He's a great leader, became a great leader, and went on to another team and led them to a Super Bowl. And, if you look at the Patriots, they're not the same, right?
Right.
I mean, it's
totally right.
It's I can name some other guys, like in basketball, like with Tim Duncan and the San Antonio Spurs is another example. And I talked to Greg Popovich a few times over the years, and that was the one thing he said, it's like you got to have great leaders. And I think that's how the game's evolved, and I've been fortunate enough here with the Blues to have some guys going back to when I first started with the Blues. Pietrangelo was our captain.
Oh, yeah.
Who had Steen in the room and Bo Meester and guys like that who were unreal leaders. And they handled the room real well and handled everything, so it made my job a lot easier. And as we go forward, we got new guys like Ryan O'Reilly, Braden Shen, Parenko, Tarasenko, for example. Now I think he's grown into a bigger leadership over the years as he's been here, and he's doing a real good job of it.
How did you learn from those players that really just took you under their wing, adopted you right away? What did you learn from them in forging those new relationships with those younger players coming in?
Well, yeah, I think with the younger players, it's a lot of give and take with them. I think they always want to know, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? So there's a lot of information that has to go back and forth with these guys nowadays. And it's important as a head coach and your assistant coaches that you're constantly, talking to these guys, letting them know what's going on, what they got to do better, why they got to do this, why they got to do that, why it's important. And that's a big part of coaching now. I think it's, you're a psychologist almost. Yeah. I mean, you're constantly putting out fires, talking to guys, but it's great. I mean, but it's that's really a lot of the coaching that goes into it. There's a lot of work behind the scenes that way.
I bet. When you build those relationships, is there anything you do differently with those guys? I don't want to give away all your secrets, but how do you build those relationships where they trust you?
I think that I'm firm with them. I'm tough with them, and I there's a lot of times where I probably, you get mad during a game or mad at practice and you say things sometimes or whatever, but they know me and they know that, I mean business when the games are on and stuff like that. But on the side note, they have a good time with me too, like around the rink on the off days and things like that. They know I'm a pretty fun guy and we joke around, and they give it to me pretty good a lot of times about things. So there's a lot of, I'd say leeway that way, where they can bust my balls and give it to me, and which they do, which is great, and we have a good, it's fun. Like I like these guys a lot, and I think we have a good relationship that way. But at the same time, I'm like their coach, and they gotta pay attention to, because I'm going to get firm at times with them, and they're fine with it.
I think as long as that respect is there, even if it's tough love, you got to hug people sometimes. You got to choke them sometimes.
No,
but if they know
definitely.
when it comes down to business, that you care, then I think that respect is there.
And that's a big thing. You got to know what player needs what.
Yeah.
You really do. And like you said, some players, they just need to be told that, hey, it's a game. Just go play and have fun. You're putting too much pressure on yourself. And there's other guys that need a kick in the ass.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. And I sort of play loose, right? If you feel good and you're out there getting after. What are some things that you do outside of hockey? I know it comprises a lot of your time, but what are some passions outside the business?
Well, during the season, it's tough to really have anything hobby-wise going because it's like after you get out of the rink, you're kind of wore out a little bit. So I like to hang out with some good friends of mine around St. Louis and have a few beers and relax, get some dinner and stuff. It's unfortunate my family's not here during the season. They come and visit, so I'm alone a lot. Yeah. So it's nice to be able to go and hang out with some people and just get away from the game a little bit. When the off season, I'm home. A lot of kids stuff and family stuff, but I like to golf a lot. I'm into golf, and I'm fortunate enough to live right about a mile from my golf course, so I'm there quite a bit. And if I can get out and do some fishing, I will do that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you do anything when you're doing those things? Is it mostly with folks outside of work, or do you spend time with some of the players, coaching staff, enjoying some of the passions that you have outside of the business?
I always try to get together with coaches in the summertime a little bit and do a little golf outing. We went to Boone Valley last year for like 3 days, course. Stayed there and everything. We had a good time, so I try to do some of that with the coaches for sure. And I will get out there and play golf with players when I can at times in the summer if they're around. Or, I enjoy that too. I think it's a good thing to get out there with those guys and have a little fun outside the game for sure.
What's the biggest thing, your biggest takeaway, or the biggest lesson that you've experienced or learned moving from player to coach? So in your coaching stint.
Oh, as a player, I think the biggest thing is as a player, you're always just focused on your performance. I would think more than anything. I get you got to do team things, and you got to play like a team, and you got to perform the team, systems and structure of the team. You have to follow those things as a player. But you have one focus, and that's your performance and how you do, And as a coach, you have no control over the performances, I believe, the players, they're the ones that go out and do the job, and the reason you win is because of the players. Now, a coach coaches the team, puts a structure in place and a philosophy in place, and the players have to go and perform. And if you win, it's because the players perform to that. But the biggest takeaway is, I have no control over, and it bothers me, you know what I mean? As a player, I had control over what I had to do.
Yeah.
And as a coach, you only can do so much, and then hopefully your team does it for you.
What's your best advice to that point, putting your trust in others to go out and perform and deliver on the game plan and execute?
100%. And when I first started coaching, I did not do this enough. And I learned over time that everybody that works with you, and your general manager, your coaching staff, and your players, your trainers, you have to entrust in all of them to do their job.
Yeah.
And you have to give them things to do their job. You know what I mean? So my coaches really do everything, Now I oversee it all, but they have their jobs and they do them, and I let them do them. Players too. I give the information, we give the information to the players, and we let them go perform. They got to go and do it.
Okay. I love it. I think I know the answer to this, but I'll fire it out there to you anyway. Your biggest highlight thus far, being the chief of the Blues. What is your highlight so far?
Well, winning the cup for sure.
It's got to be.
That's what it's all about. We all, coaches especially, and general managers, I think winning is everything. Now, it's hard to win. So you want to be in a good system where you have consistency every year with how things work. You want to put a good product on the ice all the time, and you want to compete. We want to be competitive every year and get to an area in your game where you're ready to go in the playoffs, and then give it your all. And you still might not win because you have to get breaks. Things have to go right. You can't be injured too much. There's a lot of things that go into it. But that year we won the cup, that's obviously a highlight.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's we went on an 11-game run, and then I was a little worried after that, and I'm like, well, what now? We lost. So, but then right away we won again.
So take us back. I believe it was January, right? Going into January, in the month of January, you guys were at the bottom.
Yeah, we were at the bottom of the West, but we weren't out that much. Like, I get that, but we were only, I think at the time, 4 points out of a playoff spot, maybe 6. I can't remember exactly the number, but
what were the things that started clicking for you guys?
Before that, they were clicking. We went on a Western swing in December, and I thought we played excellent hockey. We didn't get the results, but we were pretty good. I mean, I could tell we were coming. Bennington went in net in Philly, and he played a solid game, and he looked really good in net. So we kind of ran with him, and we kept winning.
Yeah.
And then we went on an 11-game run. We win 11 in a row. But when we came back after we lost, and we won again, and we just kind of kept rolling. And Bennington stayed. He was really good still, and he was, he brought a lot of swagger to our team.
Yeah.
I thought going into playoffs, we get by Winnipeg, we got a good chance, because I figured playing Winnipeg that year, I thought they were a very good team. I thought they were, if I look back on it, they were, Boston was the toughest out, because it's always the toughest out in the finals.
Yep.
But I thought Winnipeg was every bit as tough as any team, and we beat them. So I felt really good about it, and then you play Dallas, and it was a great series again. But we outplayed Dallas.
Yeah.
And their goalie was outstanding.
Yes.
He was outstanding the whole playoff series. Bishop, he played great and almost beat us. He almost beat us, but we came through. And we beat San Jose. I mean, I didn't think it was as tough as the other two series. And then obviously Boston was a great team, tough series.
It's incredible.
They know how to win. They knew how to win.
Yeah.
But we grinded it out in Boston. That was a learning experience, the finals, because we'd never been there before. So you take the first game, it's a lot going on. We get up to a 2-0 lead and we blow it. That's just a learning. But we came out in game 2 and beat them, and then we come home. Now you come home and there's all these people around. There's 100,000 people down there for the game. Everybody's jacked up.
Yeah.
And the guys coming in, you get tense. Didn't play very good in game 3. Then we won game 4. Yeah. Then we won game 5, and then come home in game 6. It was worse with the pressure because there was way more people, because there's an opportunity to win the cup that night.
We were down there. We were all it was like the stage was set.
I didn't have a good feeling coming in.
Really going in?
No,
too much hype, or guys were too tense?
Way too much.
Yeah.
And it kind of fell apart on us. But game 7, I had a great feeling in the morning skate. Our guys were loose and ready to roll, and Bennington looked great. And the one thing is Bennington always rebounded from a bad game. Had a bad game in game 6. So I was pretty confident he was going to play well in game 7, which he needed to be, especially in the first period.
Oh, it was excellent. It was unbelievable to watch. It was a cool experience. I appreciate you sharing that with us. Looking back, what's the one thing that you would say, if we did this repeatedly going forward, we're going to have success as an organization, I'll have success as a coach? What is that one thing?
Well, building a culture for sure within your organization, which they have that here.
Yeah.
I believe it's, team first. We don't, if you look at our team this year, we got 720 goal scorers. It's spread out. We're a team, And I think that culture that we built here with how things go, year into year out, that's what gives you an opportunity to be successful every year. I really, truly believe that. That's everything for me. And it starts at the top with Tom Stillman and Doug Armstrong that build that, and down to the coaches, we all build it. But it starts at the top. It's really run well here, and they do things right.
I love it. Yeah, it's felt as a fan. You can experience it when you're there. But it's great to hear you say that.
Yeah, it's the most important thing, culture. Yeah. It really is. And if you have good culture in your organization, the players coming in learn it, and they believe in it, and they go forward. And it's hard not to be successful that way.
Yeah, I love it. As we wrap up, what is one thing that you've learned the entire time you've been a player and a coach that you think was monumental in your growth, whether that was as a player or as recently as a coach? What's that one thing that you're like, Brian, this moment, when this happened, it was a realization for me, or it took me to the next level?
I think, and I bring it up all the time to the guys today. Like, it's everybody's got a certain ability, and some have more than others. And, guys are, have the skill to score goals, but not everybody has a skill to score goals. But everybody has their own skill set, and they do their own thing. But to be successful in any sport, you have to work hard. You got to be highly competitive.
Okay.
Highly competitive. If you're not, it's going to be hard for you to be successful. 100. Like, there's no difference. Like, I'm just telling you right now, those two things have to be there. And if they're not there, you're not going to be successful. So you look at any great player. You watch Larry Bird. There's a good example of a guy that's not as talented as the other guys, but he out-competed them.
Yeah.
In my opinion, when I watch, and that's why he was successful.
That's
what it boils down to, and we talk about that in our room day in and day out. Those are two things you can control: how hard you work and how highly competitive you are. Take care of those two things, and you'll have success.
Anything ever get heated behind the scenes in practices or drills where guys are so highly competitive?
We had a fight that year we won between Sanford and Bortuso, and it was pretty funny because Sanford never been in a fight before or something, I think. And Bortz has been in a bunch, and he drills him in the head. Sanford was like freaked out after. What's going on? And like Steve Ott goes, well, hey, if you're gonna cross-check somebody in a drill and get in his face like that, what do you think's gonna happen? The guy's gonna drill you.
Yeah.
He's not gonna take it. And yeah, I guess so. That was pretty funny because everybody made a big deal about it. But I've seen this before with teams, and I thought it was a great thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't
have a problem with it at all. And there's fights behind the scenes with coaches and players, and there's all kinds of stuff that goes on. But at the end of the day, again, they're competitive and they get wound up and they want to, everybody is. I am too.
Yeah.
And I'm probably more competitive as a coach than I was a player at times, and things get heated up and you go at each other, but I've never had an issue the next day with anybody. It's always gone. And we're fine.
Well, I think it goes back to what you mentioned about culture. I mean, if they know that you care, everybody's going to get riled up.
Exactly.
You guys are in a competitive industry. Like, that's the job, right?
It
Go out
is
and
the
compete.
job. And you want your players fiery. And you want them to say something if they don't, things aren't going right or they don't like how they're being used or whatever. You want that. You know? I learned that from Mike Keenan. I played for Mike Keenan for about 3 years or 2.5 years in Philly. And, I found out early that Mike will give it to you and Mike will get on you, but if you get up and get after him, get in his face, he'll leave you alone.
Okay.
But that's what he wanted. He wanted you to get back at him. He wanted you to show something.
Feisty, yeah.
Yeah, it was something that stuck with me for a long time about that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, picked up a lot today, so thank you. I think one of the things to walk away with, you have to have a good culture. It starts with culture. I think a winning recipe is not only the culture, but marrying that with a high competitive spirit. And ultimately working hard, right? It'll work if you do the work. So, Coach, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. Tune in next time for Be Rob Inspired, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks,
Thank
Coach.
you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.